Here we are, the Crazy Blessed Show, and it's another Master Mom Monday. You know what that means? We just hang out with ordinary moms who are getting extraordinary results in their life, and we're figuring out how they do it. So today we're going to meet Jessica, an incredible woman who, at the lowest part of her life, did something amazing, which led to more incredible changes than you could imagine. This episode is mind-boggling, and I'm so excited you get to meet her. Jessica, is so good to have you here on the Crazy Blessed podcast with Master Mom Monday, and you are such a master mom. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Oh, this will be so much fun. Girl, I feel like I have known you forever. Like we go way back. And I have literally seen you transform before my very eyes. It has been the most incredible story just as an onlooker. So I was like, I have got to let everyone know about Jessica because your story is fascinating. And before we get started though, tell us a little bit about yourself so everyone can get to know you like I know you. Well, maybe not that intimately, but you know, because we go way back, we know each other's garbage, right? So
Exactly. Yes, totally. Well, I'm Jessica Black, and I am a wife and a mom to two kids, homeschooling mom, Christian, grew up in the church. I love Jesus. I love people. And I'm just me.
And when Jessica says just me, like she means I'm just an incredible rockin' woman who's taking charge of her life. That's what she means.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, tell us a little bit about, because like we've gone, like you've been inside Mom Master University for quite a while. We've even done some coaching together and worked through some things that barriers in your life. So tell us a little bit, before you ever found out about me or Crazy Blessed or Mom Master University, tell us a little bit about what your life was like, if you would.
Okay. So I grew up in a dysfunctional family, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah.
Drugs, alcohol, violence, just very dysfunctional. And I met my husband when I was 19, right after my mom had passed away. I grew up with a very sick mom. I dropped out of school to take care of her. She had kidney failure. And so I became this young girl that was a caregiver. Like that was my thing. I took care of my mom. I took care of my family. So no matter how dysfunctional, crazy things were, I was a big part of it. I was drawn into it. But by the grace of God, I met my husband, and through that relationship with him, we united together and eventually got married, had our kids. And, but we had a lot of struggles. There's a lot of struggles. We both had a lack mindset. We did not know how to manage money whatsoever. We did a lot of fighting when it came to our finances, all the way to the point where we couldn't talk to each other. So I paid the bills and he went to work, and I did the best that I could. A lot of times I would forget to pay a bill. There was no money to pay the bills. We would pay for everything on a credit card and just pay the bare minimum. And that would give us enough to go buy groceries on those credit cards to make it to the next paycheck. And it wasn't fun. We went to church every week. We had a lot of family interfering into our lives, how we should be doing things, how we should help other people in our family that were not necessarily in my immediate family.
Right.
Because I felt like if I could just help them be okay, then I could live my life. And so what would happen is I was not necessarily building up my relationship with my husband and then having kids, because I was busy helping everybody else. And
you were still kind of like the caretaker. You were still kind of like that caretaker role that you had never, like you went to school to so you could be a caretaker. Mm-hmm. And you still had a lot of your identity wrapped up in that role.
Completely. So that's how I went about my life. That's how everything was, just through that lens of I have to help these people. I have to help them so that I can now live my life, even though I had already started building a family. So that was me.
How was your relationship with your kids and with your husband then? I know you were stressed out, but how did that show up in your home?
Okay, it showed up where I did not know how to be the mom. Like my dream growing up was to be a mom. That's all I wanted to be. I wanted to be a mom and have kids. And now I'm a mom and I have kids. And things didn't go 100% like during the labor and delivery of my first child. So that sent me into very great despair. I was on a lot of medications because of the pain and just I felt very broken. And I had to see a lot of doctors, lots of surgery. And so all of that added on top of everything. So I was very stressed and I didn't have patience with my kids. Like I had dreamed of, before you have kids, you're going to be like, I'm going to be like this, I'm going to be like that.
Yeah.
And then I had them and I did not know what to do. So I would yell, scream. I did not know what I was doing. My daughter, would have tantrums. She would run away from us. And I was so afraid she was going to get hurt because she was running, across the street. And I was like, oh my gosh, people are going to think we're abusing her when we're not.
Yeah.
But I did not know what to do. I had no idea.
Wow.
I did not know how to be a mom, like really, And
Well, I mean,
so
you didn't have a role model, first of all.
I had right, exactly.
Yeah, because you were kind of the mom to your mom. So you never really had that role model. And even though you had these dreams of what you're going to be like as a mom, you don't have the skill set. It would be like someone saying, hey, Hannah, okay, so our ice maker's broken. Okay. And it would be like someone saying, Hannah, go fix the ice maker. I'm like, there's nothing in my brain that knows how to fix an ice maker, but yet I'm supposed to have an ice maker working. And so here you are, you're supposed to be a great mom, but literally there's nothing in your brain to pull from to get those skills, to get those strategies. And it does come down to a skill set to be a mom. So how did you, when did this change? First of all, how did you find out about Mom Master University? So
this whole thing, I didn't find out about my match. I found you through your Hannah Help Me show.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
A little backstory. I had this desire to homeschool my kids. But where I lived and where I came from, everybody went to public school and I did not know anybody that homeschooled.
Okay.
So I went through the motion. I put my son into the public kindergarten. And that year was amazing and beautiful because he had this amazing teacher. She had a master's degree in special education. And she recognized that my son she thought he was gifted. And so she had him tested, which worked out amazing because by the time he was in first grade, I started realizing that I really wanted to homeschool. I still didn't know anybody, but the desire was there. And I was unhappy with the things that were going on in the school where we went. And my best friend's like, well, what about public school? Well, we ended up qualifying for a scholarship through his IEP for gifted, and he also had some speech IEP. And so he went to private school. So this is where I find you. So now that he goes to private school at a full scholarship, now it was up to me to drive him across town to his classes every day. And I had my little baby daughter. And so I would have to drive him and I would come home and clean the house and know that I had to go at a certain time. Well, I was flipping through the channels one day, cleaning the house, and I come across Hannah Help Me. And I was hooked. I was like, I need her to come to my house. I was just like, so every week it would be on this one station. And I'm like, nobody better call because this is my Hannah Help Me time. And I would just sit there and watch the whole show. Right. And just wish and dream. So at some point, because I know that you're a homeschooling mom, I signed up for an email and I went on your website and just devoured everything for homeschool moms. And then time went by and I didn't pay attention, but I was still getting your emails. And I finally decided to homeschool my son even after private school. I just felt that nudge and I was like, I'm going to do it. Forget the scholarship. I'm just feeling called even though I have a GED, that's my education. I went back and got my GED after I dropped out of
Right.
school. I just felt led. And then at that same time, my husband had the opportunity to move across the country we were in Florida, to move across the country to California. Okay. So this is a couple years after I find you.
Right.
And we were there for a couple months. And for some reason, I noticed an email in my email, and we had like no furniture in our house. We just like moved, right? We have nothing.
Right.
And I'm like sitting on a camping chair, and I like print out the packet, and I get on that webinar, and I'm sitting there, I told you we were in debt, and your ice maker, bringing up the ice maker. When we lived in Florida for 2 years, every 2 weeks, my husband had to defrost the freezer because we were so poor mindset that we never tried to figure out how to fix the ice maker. But every 2 weeks, he would pull everything out of the freezer, defrost it, and reset it and put it back for 2 years. It ended up being like a $20 part on Amazon
Oh my
by the end
goodness.
of it. But that's who I was, where we were, right? We were like in.
Isn't that crazy
struggle.
that's so crazy that I brought up the ice maker. Like that's
Yeah.
so bizarre. But that's the way a lot of women
Mhm.
will live, is we will like hobble along through life trying to like piece together, Frankenstein our life. Like, okay, I'll just try to make it through to save some money instead of just doing the thing of investing in ourselves and making it right.
Exactly. So here I am. I listened to that webinar. I'm still the one in charge of the finances. My husband's still going out,
Right.
right? We don't talk about money. And it was like a call to action, like, hey, join Mom Mastery. And it was like some 3-month thing. And I was like, something inside me is like, do it, just do it. But I was like, I don't know. So I was like, well, I'm going to do it and I can just cancel. Well, that was like over 6 years ago. Okay. I figure I'm like a Mom Mastery University lifer because I've never looked back, and honestly, I did not really understand the whole program. I just started I love listening while I'm cleaning or cooking. And so, we were at this point where I said I had problems with my daughter. If she didn't want to go somewhere, we were trapped, right? Because otherwise she would throw this huge fit and we could not leave the house. And we only had one car. So if it was a day that I needed to borrow the car to go somewhere and it was time to go pick my husband up from work and she didn't want to go, how could I physically get this 4 or 5-year-old into the car? It just didn't happen.
Wow.
Right. So I just started listening to you, and you would say, all of these things, you became my best friend that I didn't have. And just listening to you and how you broke down the Bible where I could take it as my, like I said, I went to church my whole life, and I was going to church before I moved every time the doors were open, but it was way out here and I could not reach that level. But by listening to you, it was just layers were just coming off my brain. And I would realize that the only reason I believed certain things was because my parents believed them or other people did. They were not my own true beliefs. And it was just one layer after another. My life just started to change. And back before, I didn't trust people, but for some reason through you, I began to trust you. You're my best friend. You didn't know I existed, but it started changing my life. And like I said, I had problems with my daughter to the point where my blood would boil when she would start. I would just be like, what do I do? I felt so trapped.
Right.
And I did not even want to be around her. And I know that sounds terrible,
No,
but it was.
It sounds real. It sounds real.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
But what started happening is I realized that when she was not being that way, it was so important just to go sit next to her. Just to sit next to her, she's coloring, just to be. And I'm telling you, our whole life has changed.
Oh my God. Well, tell me about that. What are the changes, the most significant changes you've seen as a result of plugging into Mom Mastery University?
Okay. My relationship with my daughter is amazing. It's beautiful. She just hugs me with so much love. We're best friends. It's such a change because we went from where we were to how we are now. I would never leave my family. When I first met you in person, I knew you were the real deal, because it's one thing you see somebody like on the Crazy Blessed, Bible study or you're listening. But I went to a year after I joined, I found out about the conference and I went and I met you like going into the conference, right? And you were just like so friendly and nice. And I was like, wow, she's the real deal. She's exactly everything that I've gotten to get to know you online and through the coachings was just right there in person. And so that year I flew with my kids because we were coming back to Florida. So it was nothing. And I admired the other women. I even said to them, I can't believe you ladies traveled without your kids, because fear was huge in my life. I was plagued by fear. And through Mom Mastery University, I learned that if I was in fear, I was out of faith completely. And that was a very dangerous place to be. And I was able to make that choice of, I can let go of this fear because I know that puts me in danger and I can latch on to faith. And the very next year, I flew to Washington, D.C. by myself from California. And it was an amazing change because the year before I was like admiring women, like, how can you do this? And just recently, how it's affected my daughter. We just moved and we're back in Florida, and my daughter's homeschooled her whole life. And she just decided at 12 years old, she wants to start ballet, and she's never done any dancing before. And I was like, she's so brave. How can she just walk into a classroom of strangers?
She watches her mom. She watches her mom do it.
Exactly. And so our lives have completely changed. I was just on a walk the other day with my son, and I was like, you know what? If I didn't say yes to these changes, I think we would be back in our tiny little 2-bedroom house that was too small for us, in major debt. And I don't know what would be going on, but I know that I'm so glad that we're not back there.
So let's talk for just a second about that, because I know we're running up on the end of our time together, but I think it's so powerful, your story of that poverty mindset. And you were like, we can't afford this. What am I doing? This is crazy. I'm investing in myself. But what you have done financially as a result of just getting plugged inside Mom Mastery University, like you decided, okay, I'm worth this investment. And then all of a sudden your finances started to really flourish. Like, tell us about that, because you're living in your dream house. Like,
yes, exactly. So I went from, I could just cancel, right?
Yeah.
To basically my mind was being blown. It was just so undeniable. It was just one breakthrough after another. It was, why am I thinking this way? The relationship with my daughter, realizing that I am a daughter of the King. And I realized through that I had that tape going on in my brain, just telling me how awful I was. And I really couldn't accept love for my husband and children because I had so much hate inside. So it was like, that was a huge breakthrough. And then when it came to the finances, what I didn't tell you is before we moved, we went into a bankruptcy, and we thought we were being really awesome by paying it back. Like we were like, okay, we don't think, first we were like, no, we can't do bankruptcy. That's wrong. Right. And then we're like, okay, well, maybe we should. So we did. And then we were doing a payment program. So anyway, through my growth and my learning, I realized that if a situation comes up, the God is aware of it and he's going to get us through it. And this situation happened where we were responsible for paying a lot of money back. And I was like, I took a moment and I was like floored. I was like laying out on my couch. Oh my gosh, we're going to be homeless. What are we going to do? We're not going to be able to pay our bills. And then I realized, God's got us. If he's going to bring this to us, he's going to bring us through it. And he did. I am telling you, money flowed in. I don't know how. We did everything we were supposed to do, but we aligned our thoughts with that God was going to see us through. We never went hungry. That's when I went and took 2 weeks to go to Florida, and I went to my first Mom Mastery conference. And I just saw how amazing when you live in faith and you trust God and you just keep moving forward. When things happen, you don't stay in fear, you operate in faith. And we've had checks come in the mail that had money in them that we weren't expecting. It was a good thing I opened them, right?
Right.
I opened them, right? And it's just now this is how we live now,
So
and so that old person that used to live in fear, that was afraid to leave her family, that was struggling, that would not even investigate how to get an ice maker fixed,
wow.
is living this completely different life.
I mean, think of that woman who's living in a house way too small for herself, her husband, 2 kids, sitting in a camp chair, listening to a webinar and thinking, okay, I'm going to do this crazy thing because I can just cancel later. And now 6 years later, you're living in your dream home, flourishing, living in abundance, living in faith. What would you say? Okay, let's say there's a woman who's wondering, should I get enrolled in Mom Mastery University? Maybe she's where you were, just like, I don't know, my kids drive me crazy. Or maybe it's like I'm frustrated with my home and my money. What would you say to her?
I would say you have nothing to lose. You can stay right where you're at and stay in that struggle, or you can try something different, completely different.
Wow. It is completely different.
It is.
Yeah. Jessica, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And just knowing that when you have enough faith to just believe in taking the next step, just taking the leap, even if you have to hold the thought, I can cancel later, just enough faith to take the leap. Just like Jessica, I believe you are going to be blessed like crazy.